really hard and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It sounds kind of cool, but once you really listen to it, it's just confusing. Hello friends, my name is Mustafa and this is MK Fingerstyle Academy. In this video, I'm going to take you on a walk behind the scenes of my Sweet Dreams arrangement for Fingerstyle Ukulele by Eurythmics. That arrangement is a little bit special because it features a new style of arranging that I'm adopting from my fingerstyle arrangements that makes my arrangements a little bit more interesting to listen to because it makes the vocal melody and the accompaniment intertwine together in the same register, which makes it feature a lot of syncopations. It makes it really hard for the player to play, but it also makes it really hard for the arranger to arrange because there is only so many frets you can have per string on the ukulele. So why don't we take a deep dive and see what's going on. So to understand what's really going on, you need to know that as an arranger, the easiest approach to making any fingerstyle arrangement is to put the melody all the way up in the register and to put the accompaniment and the bass line all the way down in the register. And what that does physically is it separates the two voices and allows me to play the melody on the higher string while sustaining a bass line at the bottom string. And because they never cross each other, I can sustain them for the duration of the song. Just take a listen to my Seven Nation Army. Or the vocal verse and rap verse in Feel Good by Gorillaz. Both of these arrangements, I am separating the vocal line from the accompaniment, and you can hear it clearly because the vocal line is so high up. But it's not always the case. Sometimes you can take the vocal line and put it all the way in the bass, and take the accompaniment and pull it all the way up, like in my Beat It by Michael Jackson. But if you go all the way back in my channel and listen to Kylie Minogue's Can't Get You Out of My Head, you'll notice that in the first version of the verse, I put the vocal line and the accompaniment together in the same register. See what happens there. As you can hear, it's really funky, interesting, and unique because it doesn't follow the trend. So in my Sweet Dreams arrangement and my Buffalo Soldier, which was released recently, you hear me putting the vocal line and the accompaniment in the same register. That is to say, on the ukulele, they're both sharing the same string or set of strings, and namely the fourth and the third, and they're sharing the same frets because technically I cannot play the 8th or 9th fret while playing the 1st and the 2nd fret. So they have to both exist within the same fret region. So the question becomes, if you're playing the accompaniment and the vocal line on the same frets, on the same strings, well, how can you separate them so we hear two unique layers? Well, to do that, we need to play the melody and understand where it is. The melody is on the 3rd string to follow the vocalist's deep vocal range. And it goes like... Now to understand why I wanted to maintain it there, let's play it an octave up and hear what it would sound like if I separated the registers. It sounds really nice, but it's really high up, and it sort of betrays the deep voice of the vocalist. So I have to play it on the 3rd string. Now, the bass riff, the iconic bass riff, that dun 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 dun, well, that needs to be in the bass line. So let's hear it on the bass line. As you can see, there's a lot of C's in it. So to make it even feasible, I have to play those C's as a 5th fret. And what that does is it puts the entire bass line on the 4th string so they all sound the same. Because the 4th string and the 3rd string have different thicknesses, and when you play them, they make slightly different sounds especially if your fourth string, like mine, is metal wound. So now we have the bass riff all on the fourth string, and we have the vocal melody on the third string, very close to each other. Let's see what happens when you put both of them on top of each other without any adjustments. Notice how hard it is to read and how hard it is to fret at the same time, and how hard it is to isolate both of them. Really hard, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It sounds kind of cool, but once you really listen to it, it's just confusing. So what are we gonna do about this? Well, here's where the magic starts. You start thinking about what can you omit that's not important? What can you add in the spaces between the beats that gives the illusion of that layer sustaining? And when can you play one note that serves two functions? In other words, where in that melody and bass riffs do they share a note on the same beat? So let's check it out. If you play in the beginning, you go C. That C that is below the first melody note is sort of unnecessary. It adds too much confusion. So what if I omit it? It will sound like... Now you have a little bit of syncopation because the bass line underneath the melody is gone, so you don't hear it, so you get the sense of a syncopation, but the melody is still there. So you get funky and clarity, but also makes it easier to play. That second C after the melody note is the second bass note in the original riff on the end of 2, which means when you play it, you're giving the illusion that the bass riff is still playing. It's very cool. Same thing here. You have 3 open Gs. Well, what happens if we don't play 3 open Gs, but instead play the stronger one on beat 3, and then remove or omit the end of 3 and just play the melody note? And that will give us space to play the 4 and. And here in the melody, in bar 3, what I've done, I've taken the bass note out from the end of 2 like we did before, but then for the vocal melody, I am sustaining that E flat, and I'm just making it a little bit longer so it doesn't fill the space too much, because just because you have a beat doesn't mean you play a note in it. And giving that time sometimes adds a little bit of funkiness, but sometimes a little bit of space and gives people time to digest what's happening, especially if it's happening quickly. And here's something cool. I have 3 Cs in a row, but 2 of them belong to the melody and 1 of them belongs to the bass. So I have to play it like that. And then I just follow the same process of elimination to complete the verse. So why don't we publish the verse in the way I published it, and notice how much easier it is to play it, but also how much more interesting it is to listen to. If you listen to the video, what happens next is I add one more layer to the whole mix, which is the harmonization layer, which makes it even more exciting to listen to. Hopefully this video gives you a new insight into music. My name is Mustafa, this is MK Fingerstyle Academy. I'll see you in the next video.